I'll never forget the day 3 neighborhood boys decided to chase me down my own street. Certain I'd be too scared, too alone, too outnumbered to fight back. Yeah, they thought they could corner the new black girl and get away with it, but they had no idea what was waiting for them at the end of my driveway. You want a story about justice, about secrets unraveling in a place where people think ugly things can stay hidden? Buckle up, because this one's got everything: bullies, heroes, and a showdown that turned our whole neighborhood upside down. We'd barely finished unpacking when it all started. August heat still hung heavy over the house, and I remember standing in the driveway with my granddad, Sergeant Luther Bell, watching the movers leave, sweat trickling down his face, but his back straight as ever military men don't bend, even at 67. The house wasn't fancy, but I liked the blue shutters, and for a minute I wanted to believe maybe Willow Creek would finally be the place for us. But then I spotted her, the lady across the street in yoga pants, watering her flowers. When she saw us, she stopped, stared a little too long, then disappeared inside, leaving her sprinkler running. That was the first warning. Inside, my new room had this window seat overlooking the yard. I set down my box, tried to feel excited, but everything just fell off. My granddad called up, "You ready to meet the dogs?" And honestly, that was the only part I'd looked forward to. Valor and Echo, his retired military German shepherds, my only real friends. He said we'd introduce them to the neighbors soon, because we don't want any trouble, Maya. Yeah, about that trouble was already watching. First neighbors to stop by were Susan and Dave Matthews, casserole in hand and fake smiles plastered on their faces. "We notice you have dogs, big ones," she said, eyes darting to the backyard. Granddad explained, "All professional, military working dogs. Trained. Certified." Susan's smile cracked, but she kept at it. "Well, the HOA has rules about dangerous breeds." She kept calling me sweetie in this voice that made my skin crawl. I could tell we weren't what she expected for Willow Creek. The next morning, first day of school, I spent extra time on my hair, where the necklace Grandma gave me. At breakfast, Granddad looked me right in the eyes, told me I was stronger than I knew. "You let me know if anyone gives you trouble. You hear?" I promised I would, but even then, I was already scared to admit how fast my heart was beating. At school, it was the same story. Nobody sat with me on the bus. Nobody talked to me in the hallways, unless you count the whispers and the stares. By lunch, my shoulders ached from holding myself tall. I sat alone until Chad Thompson and his friends swaggered up, loud and mean. Chad was the kind of boy people listen to just because he's tall, white, plays football, thinks he owns the place. They made jokes about my hair, my skin, took pictures, and nobody said a word. I could feel my grandma's voice in my head. "Don't let them see you cry." But it was hard, really hard. After school, walking home, I heard the roar of a pickup behind me. Chad and his gang, creeping slow, yelling out of the windows. They followed me almost all the way to my driveway, laughing, making sure I knew just how alone I was. But when I got home, Granddad knew something was wrong. He always knows. "Tell me," he said, and I did. He told me, "Standing up for yourself isn't making trouble, Maya. It's making a change." He was calm, but I could see the steel in his jaw. For the first time, I felt a little less alone. But the next day was worse. "Go home" was scrawled on my locker in thick black marker. People watched, some smirking, others just pretending not to notice. Classes were a blur. In English, we talked about To Kill a Mockingbird, and I couldn't miss the irony. At lunch, girls whispered about how I'd sick my dogs on some kids, like Valor and Echo were monsters, not protectors. That afternoon, Chad and his friends waited for me again. This time, they boxed me in, calling me slurs, shoving me, daring me to fight back. I managed to escape, barely, but that night, I told Granddad everything. He had a plan, document everything, take pictures, build our case. He said, "Sometimes the system works if you know how to use it." I wanted to believe him, but it didn't stop. The next week, the bullying escalated. Someone posted a video online, carefully edited to make it look like I'd set Valor and Echo on Chad and his friends, leaving out everything that happened before: the taunts, the threats, the way they cornered me. "Crazy girl sets attack dogs on innocent kids." The comments got ugly fast, people calling for my family to be evicted, saying things I won't repeat. Even my teachers acted different after that. The story twisted so far out of shape I could barely recognize it. When the HOA called an emergency meeting, we knew it would be bad. Chad's dad, Roger Thompson, stood at the podium, showing freeze frames of Valor and Echo, talking about dangerous animals and community standards. The whole room turned to stare at us. I thought I'd puke from nerves, but Granddad stood up, calm as ever, and said, "May I present some evidence?" He played Mrs. Patel's security footage on the projector. She lived 2 houses down, had caught everything on her doorbell cam. You could see Chad and his friends tailing me, hear their threats, see the moment they trapped me against our fence. Only then did the dogs come, exactly as they were trained. Silence. Then, as the truth sunk in, other neighbors started speaking up. Pastor Grant, who'd been quietly gathering stories for months, laid out all the complaints, selective fines, mysterious threats, who'd been targeted. Suddenly, the news cameras were rolling, police at the door. The whole ugly truth spilled out. The real, dangerous elements weren't my dogs. It was the people running things, using rules to push out anyone they didn't like. The fallout was fast. The HOA board resigned. The school board opened an investigation. Chad and his friends got expelled, their parents under arrest for conspiracy and hate crimes. Turns out they'd stolen Valor and Echo from animal control and hurt them, trying to force us out for good. But neighbors showed up with candles, signs, and hugs, filling our yard with the kind of support I never expected. And for the first time, I felt safe again. Not because the world had magically changed, but because people stood up, told the truth, and refused to let the old lies win. Granddad said, "You did this, Maya, by not letting them break you." But I think we did it together, all of us who finally decided enough was enough. So now, when I walk down Oakage Lane, people wave. Valor and Echo, a little scarred but healing, walk beside me. There's a barbecue planned for this weekend. "Welcome to the real Willow Creek, where everyone belongs," the banner says. And I know not everything's perfect. Change is slow, and there'll always be another fight. But this time, the whole world's watching, and maybe, just maybe, the next girl who moves and won't have to fight alone. Now I want to hear from you. What would you have done if you were in my shoes? Do you believe people can really change, or does power just move from one group to another? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. There's another story coming tomorrow you won't want to miss.
Xin chào các bạn, mình là Trinh, mình phụ trách viết content. Trên đây là những công việc của mình, là mình lên mạng xã hội tìm hiểu những video
Vamos supor, você falou negócio sério. It is cold, yeah. Next one? Alright. Thank you, man. Hey, if you guys have any trouble, let somebody know. Please.